Public defender's right there. I can pick a name.
Well, did the private attorney?
Oh, now I remember. So we do need to bring him out.
Yes.
All right. When you're able in the next minute. Okay, if you can do it, let's bring Mr. Pierce out, please. He can be here or at the podium, whichever you prefer. Hey, Mr. Pierce. Good morning. When we last spoke, which was in mid-December, you were telling me that there was a lawyer you were planning on hiring, or your family was, someone, you were going to retain a lawyer. So, all right, we need to be moving your case forward, but I'm going to give you about a month. Now it's been actually almost a month and a half. I need an update from you, because if I look here in the system, still no entry of appearance, which says to me you have not hired someone. And so we need to have that conversation about, are you representing yourself? Am I appointing a lawyer to represent you, or what?
I have some things that I got wrote down that I'd like to address.
Well, we're going to start with my question, which is, are you hiring a lawyer, or should I?
I'm American State National. I'm a representative myself. I can't be represented by attorney. I'm American State National.
Okay. So you think you want to represent yourself?
I don't have to, because I'm not under the jurisdiction of the government. You can let me, I got stuff that wrote down, which is all this is tied in together. You let me sit my paper down and read it out to you.
So I'm going to let you do that. We're going to do that today. We're just not going to do it right now. I needed to get your update so I could figure out what else we were going to do today. And I'm hearing you say you're not hiring an attorney, but you also don't want an appointed one because, and you'll tell me later, you're an American national. I don't mean to use your words. You're going to tell me why you think you should represent yourself. You have a right to represent yourself, but I have to have a conversation about that. And I'll certainly want you right there where I tell you all the reasons why it's a bad idea to represent yourself. But in the end, it's your call. It's not mine. I won't say no. If you say, no, Judge, I get it. I know that I won't have someone helping me on the outside. I won't have someone who knows all about the law this way and that way. That's okay. That's a decision for you to make. But we're going to have that conversation on the record. And during that conversation, if there are things you want to tell me about the fringe on the flag and whether you're under the jurisdiction of whatnot, I'm happy to listen to that. And we'll go forward. But we're going to do that a little later this morning, okay? All right. Thank you, Deputy, for bringing Mr. Pierce out. We'll get him back out. Hey, Mr. Pierce, I gave you some bad info. I am running into a whole lot of cases that we need to resolve, like people are going to plead guilty. So you and I are still going to have that conversation about you representing yourself and your rights and jurisdiction. Promise you that. We might not fit it in today. And so I didn't want you to be surprised if these gentlemen take you back downstairs. It's not because I'm ignoring you in any way. I will get you back here soon so we can have that very same conversation. You can have all your papers with you. You'll get to be front and center, and we'll talk about all that, okay?
Is there a way I can give you a copy of my American National standing right quick?
If it's a copy you don't need anymore, you can leave it with the deputy and he'll get it to me, okay?
I got a copy for the DA, the court clerk, and you.
Fantastic. If you leave that with me, I'll make sure it gets to all those people.
Okay.
All right.
I also filed my executive letter. I got it sent to certified mail. And I also filed a pro se ex parte with a prohibition to dismiss my case. But it's in the mail right now.
Okay. We'll be looking for it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. That wraps up the first hearing. Nothing too wild happened here, except for Ricky thinking that calling himself an American state national somehow means he can't be held accountable for his actions. Spoiler, it doesn't. In the next hearing, things get a bit more interesting. The judge takes a moment to explain the risks of representing yourself in court, making sure Ricky understands just how serious this is. Meanwhile, Ricky does his usual routine, pulling out his massive fee schedule as if it's some kind of magic shield. It's a lot to watch, and it really sets the tone for what's about to come.
Good afternoon, Mr. Pierce.
Good afternoon.
How are you?
Fine.
Good. I'm hanging in there. It's been a long day, but I'm sure it's been a long day for you as well. Whoop. Let's get your stuff all situated.
Y'all sit down, man. Y'all sit down.
Okay, well, you've waved to him, but this isn't a place where we have that kind of conversation. You bet. Mr. Pierce, when we were last together, we had a conversation about representation, and you told me that you wanted to represent yourself. You didn't want a lawyer appointed, and you weren't going to be hiring a lawyer. And I said, we can have that conversation. That's an extended conversation, judge and defendant. And I'm ready to do that so that we can move your case forward. Otherwise, you're kind of stuck until we clear that hurdle. You have a right to represent yourself, but I need to make sure that you are knowingly invoking that right and intelligently, which is not me telling you you're not intelligent. I just need to make sure you understand the consequences of self-representation. So that's what I was hoping we could get through today. But I always want to start by saying what is on your agenda so we can see if there's anything else.
I'm American State National, and I can't be represented by no attorney. But I have a lot of issues with me being a national that I want. The judge, you said you were going to let me hear me. You're going to let me address all my issues last time I was here about me being.
Well, I did say that, but I said if you're going to address issues, I need to make sure you're representing yourself. Okay, but if we're going to do that, we have to have my conversation first. I'm required by law and by the Constitution to go through a few things to make sure it's appropriate for you to represent yourself. So you can want to do it, but I got to make sure it's appropriate to let you.
I'm going to pause here for a quick explanation. What we're watching is called a Feretta hearing. Basically, it's a short, procedural hearing where the court checks whether someone who wants to represent themselves has the mental capacity and understanding to do so. Since most of this hearing is just formal back and forth questions and answers, I'm going to skip over the technical details and focus on the parts that are actually interesting, the moments that really show what's going on in the courtroom.
All right, Mr. Pierce, please tell me how old you are.
41 years old.
How far did you go in school?
11th grade.
All right. Did you ever get your GED?
Yes, sir.
When did you get your GED?
2017.
Excellent. Are you able to read English?
Yes, sir.
I know you can write in English because I got these, and you actually mailed me something that
Yeah, I wrote you a letter.
about 200 pages long. All right, so you can read and write, and you can speak English. Have you ever worked before?
Yes, I have several jobs.
Tell me what kind of work you've done before.
I worked for Dollar Tree when I got arrested. I worked there for Airmark. I worked there for the Move Theater in North Carolina. I have my own landscaping business. I have my own record label. I worked at McDonald's, Burger King.
You've had a bunch of jobs. Got it. All right, that's helpful to know. I appreciate you sharing that. Have you gone to law school?
I haven't gone to law school, but I have practiced. Not practiced. I've been studying law.
You've been studying the law. Tell me how you've studied that.
Just reading, researching different case laws, sending out different statutes and codes and things of that nature.
Sure. Has all of your legal study been while you've been in jail, or have you also done legal study when you were out?
Both in and out.
Okay, got it. Have you ever watched an entire criminal trial before, start to finish?
I done been to trial before.
So you've watched one then?
Yes.
Okay. What was that trial about?
Armed robbery. The 10 years I just did for armed robbery.
So you were charged with armed robbery,
Yeah.
and that case went to trial.
Yes, sir.
So you were there from jury selection
All
the way through verdict.
To a closing argument. I stopped before closing arguments and took 10 years.
Oh, you pled guilty.
Yeah, I
Got it.
tried right before they were finna come out for closing argument.
So you've seen 95% of a trial.
Yes, sir.
All right. You ever watched a trial on TV?
Yes, sir.
What kind of trial?
What that movie that's so called? Law and Order.
Okay, you've seen that kind of stuff. So you've seen the made-for-TV stuff.
Right.
But you've been in a real one. You were a participant in a real trial.
Yes, sir.
How long ago was that trial?
2016.
Where?
Here.
Fulton County.
Yes, sir.
Who was your lawyer?
Kevin Farm. He's a judge now.
He is. That's a small world.
Yeah.
All right. Have you ever represented yourself in a criminal or a civil case before?
No, I haven't.
This would be your first time.
Yes, sir.
Got it. Have you ever gone to a doctor or a counselor to get treatment for any mental health issue?
No, sir.
Depression or bipolar or anything?
No, sir.
Okay. Tell me why you think you would do a better job representing yourself than a trained lawyer who went to law school and has done trials before would do.
Because by me being a Mr. National, a lawyer only subject me to the jurisdiction.
So hold on 1 second. Yeah, you got it. So the court reporter needs to be able to take down what you're saying. What you're saying is important. So just don't rattle the change, and then she'll be better able to hear you. So you were telling me by being an American
State national, and by me being a national, I can't be represented by an attorney because attorney automatically subject me to the court's jurisdiction.
No, that's not how it works. You're still under the state's authority because the alleged crime happened right here in Georgia. Georgia law, specifically Code 17-2-1B1, makes it clear that anyone who commits a crime, either fully or partially within the state, can be prosecuted here. Now, if you truly believe that being an American state national exempts you from the law, then prove it. Drop your bracelets and walk out on your own 2 feet.
So my question was a little different. I hear you. But my question is, why do you think you would do a better job than a lawyer? It sounds like you may think a lawyer would do a better job, but you don't want a lawyer because you're worried that would subject you to the jurisdiction of this court.
I know for a fact it'll subject me to the, because a lawyer is as an officer of the court, and by them being an officer of the court, it automatically subject me to the court's jurisdiction.
Okay, well, indulge me for a minute and assume, you may think I'm wrong, but assume that I've decided that you are subject to the jurisdiction of the court. And you said, Judge, you're wrong. Okay, but I get to make the decision initially, and then you go to the Court of Appeals and they'll say McBurney was right, McBurney was wrong. But if I've decided that this court has jurisdiction over you and this case and your co-defendant, do you want me to appoint you a lawyer because you're stuck here anyway, or you still want to represent yourself?
I still want to represent myself because I'm not under the court jurisdiction.
No chains.
Okay, my bad. My apologies. I'm not under the court jurisdiction, and I've been studying it long enough. Almost my whole family is nationals, and we know pretty much a lot about it, and we know for a fact the only way I could be subjected to a court jurisdiction is through a lawyer, because the birth certificate is a void contract, and through that contract, the birth certificate contract is what makes me subjected to the court jurisdiction.
Okay, I'm gonna stop you again, not because I'm disagreeing with you. I am disagreeing with you, but we don't need to resolve that right now. I want to keep going with the discussion about representation, before I get to the next question about the consequences of self-representation, if we fast forward and play this out, eventually you are either going to be pleading guilty in this case or you're going to trial. You're going to disagree about jurisdiction. I'm going to be very respectful and say, you know what? I hear you, Mr. Pierce, and you don't think I have jurisdiction or this court has jurisdiction over you. And I may be wrong about that, but we're still moving forward. Here comes a jury. We're going to do the trial. And so we'll go through that whole process. And I may be told I'm wrong by the Supreme Court, and then I'll have to fix that, and I will fix it. But there'll be this trial. You're going to want to represent yourself, even though we're going forward with it.
Yes.
Okay. Do you know what you're charged with in the indictment?
No, I haven't had. I know what I'm charged, but I haven't had nobody come talk to me about nothing. I don't know what's going on. I don't know.
Well, that's because you said you don't want a lawyer. And so this is what we're getting into. No one's going to come talk to you about what's going on. I'll make sure you get the discovery, the paperwork in the case.
And when would I?
It's complicated. We can get you the paper stuff pretty soon. Okay. But if I'm making this up, I don't know what's in the case. But if there's video, let's say there's surveillance video, I can't give you that at the jail. It's on a disc. What are you going to do with a disc? At the jail, you can't watch that. You don't have a way to watch that.
And, I would be signing a private investigator too, right? By me representing myself.
Nope. You don't get an investigator.
How would I do my investigations and this part of the process?
Well, that's your problem, especially since you chose to represent yourself. Maybe it's time you figure it out on your own, because the court isn't going to solve it for you. School. Wait a second. Did you just say you're a citizen? School. Because honestly, you're making things harder for yourself. You're facing life in prison without the possibility of parole, and you don't even have a high school diploma, let alone a college degree or a law degree. I could list countless reasons why representing yourself is a terrible idea, and yet I can't think of a single good reason why you should. Now he's about to launch into a long, rambling statement that he's been eager to put on the record. So, if you have your face bomb shields ready, you're going to need them, because it's about to get painfully ridiculous.
We're going to talk about that, but you don't, I mean, that's a reason to say, you know what, I will take a lawyer, because that lawyer will have an investigator, and that investigator...
But can I hire my own private
Oh,
investigator?
with your money, if you got money for it, you can hire anyone you want. But I won't be providing you money to go hire an investigator, because you're saying, I'm handling it myself. I got this. Mr. Pierce has it, which means your family would be, they could be helping you, or an investigator or something like that. Or there may be some way, and I can't teach you how to do it, where you could petition to get funds for an investigator, but that's not for today. One of the consequences of representing yourself is there isn't someone who comes and sits down with you and say, let's look at this discovery. Man, the way the police handled that looks like that's a problem to me. I've been a lawyer for 20 years. I've never seen a police officer do that. That's something a lawyer could tell you after he or she reviewed all the discovery. And you won't get you're not a dummy. You could look at it and say, hey, this looks suspect, but you'd be making that decision without a lawyer helping you think about it if you represent yourself. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. But you seem concerned that someone hasn't already come to the jail to talk to you about what's in the indictment.
I'm not concerned. I was just,
Okay.
wasn't informed on it. I
Right.
know I was supposed to get a discovery package at least, or
Well, not yet.
report an indictment or something.
You will get it if in the end you convince me that I should let you represent yourself, then you will get all that stuff. But no one should have given you anything yet, because we're on hold. Is he going to have a lawyer? Then we give the discovery to the lawyer who works with you on that. Or is he representing himself? Then we give the discovery to Mr. Pierce. And right now you're saying, I want to represent myself, and if we get through this conversation, then you'll start getting discovery. Let me tell you what you're charged with in the indictment. Count 1 charges you with murder, and it alleges that you and Mr. Baker shot and killed Samuel Curtis Harris Jr. That's count 1. Counts 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 are all, and 7 and 8 are all what we call felony murder, which is you and Mr. Baker caused the death of Mr. Harris by being involved in a different crime: attempted robbery, armed robbery, aggravated assault, being a convicted felon, and having a firearm. Although that's just Brandon Baker. Brandon Baker apparently was a convicted felon at the time of this murder, and the murder was in February of last year. Oh, you are too. There you are. So you had a felony conviction as well. You and Mr. Baker are charged with attempted robbery, and the allegation is, and again, these are just allegations. It's not proof of anything, but it's letting you know what you're charged with and what you'll need to defend against.
Okay.
But the attempted robbery allegation is that in February of 2024, you and Mr. Baker approached Samuel Curtis Harris Jr. on foot on Mitchell Street, right near here, with the intent to take his property. Count 10 charges you and Mr. Baker with armed robbery, saying, in fact, by using a gun, you took his property. In fact, what you took from him was a firearm. Count 11 charges you both with aggravated assault for shooting Mr. Harris. 12 is possessing a gun in connection with these crimes that I talked about. Same with 13. 14 is just Mr. Baker. 15 is you. And it says that on that date you had a firearm, but you were a convicted felon because back in 2010 you got convicted of something in Clayton County. And also you got convicted of something here in Fulton County in 2016. I guess that's your robbery you were talking about.
Yeah.
So the thrust of it is, the allegation is you and Mr. Baker robbed Mr. Harris and shot him, and he died as a result of that. That's what you're charged with. Today is not the day to say, I didn't do it, it was self-defense, I wasn't there. That's your defense for another time. That's what you're charged with. So,
Because I have it now?
pardon me?
How many counts I have it now?
It is,
Because I came here having 6 charges.
it's about 12 charges, but a lot of them overlap. one count of murder, several felony murder counts, because each of those other things I mentioned, the attempted robbery, the armed robbery, the aggravated assault, that creates a felony murder count. And then you've got a couple charges, all for possessing the same gun, but because of your criminal history, it can be charged in different ways.
But they got me charged with 3 different possession charges?
One for possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony, and then 2 possession of a firearm by convicted felon, because you have a serious violent felony, your armed robbery, that leads to one type of possession charge, and the other, you've got this escape conviction out of Clayton, and that supports a different type of charge for possession.
And what that charge is?
It's possession of a firearm by a convicted felon, but it's a different type of convicted felon.
I got 2 possession of firearms.
You do? Yep. And those may not be good charges. I don't know. That's what you would talk to your lawyer about, or that you'd research on your own if you're representing yourself.
All right.
All right. Do you understand what the penalties are for these charges?
Yes.
You understand that for this murder charge, you could be sentenced all the way up to life without parole, meaning you would die in prison.
Yes.
Same with all the felony murders.
Yes.
You understand that they'd all merge. You can't get more than 1 life sentence for the murders.
Say it again?
You cannot get more than 1 life sentence for the murders. You understand that?
Mm-hmm.
They'd all merge together. But depending on how the case played out, armed robbery also, you could be sentenced up to life in prison. You understand that?
Right.
Okay. And then the other offenses, they're lower sentences, but still serious. But the big one is murder with the possibility, not the guarantee, but the possibility of life or life without parole. You understand that?
Yes.
Okay. Are you a U.S. citizen?
Yes.
Excuse me? Did you just call yourself a citizen?
Do you understand that if
I'm not a United States citizen.
well, I'm not trying to trick you. Were you born in the United States?
I'm not a United States citizen. I'm a American state national.
Okay. Tell me where you were born.
I was born at Greater Hospital.
All right, a Grady baby. That's all I need to know. There are a bunch of questions I can skip if you were born at Grady Hospital. If I decide that it is appropriate for you to represent yourself, do you understand that you don't get to change your mind partway through the trial?
What you mean?
Well, here's an example. In your armed robbery trial, you were able towards the very end to say, you know what, I want to plead guilty. I want to switch it up. I'm going to plead. Let's take this away from the jury. If you go to trial as your own lawyer and we get partway through and you realize, dang, this is harder than I thought. I don't really know what I'm doing. You don't get a call, a timeout, and say, Judge, find me a lawyer.
Oh, yeah.
If we start representing yourself, we finish representing yourself. Start to finish, you understand?
Okay, so if I represent myself, later on down, I can't have my family hire me a lawyer.
That's different. That's different. I wouldn't appoint a lawyer.
Okay.
You could bring in a hired lawyer whenever you want, knowing that if we're in the middle of trial, you could bring someone in, but we're not going to pause the trial. That person would have to jump down next to you and say, I'm ready to go. That person couldn't say, well, I need a week to get ready. But you'd be telling a lawyer, this is a strange assignment. You're going to come represent Mr. Pierce, and he's actually on day 2 of the trial. But some lawyers might be willing to do that. So yes, your family could hire a lawyer tomorrow, next month, next week, next year. Hopefully we'll be done with your case before then. But what you could not do in the middle of trial is say, Judge, I quit. You need to go get me a lawyer. Understand? Okay. Do you understand that in almost every instance, self-representation, you being your own lawyer, is a bad idea?
That's personal opinion, right?
It is a personal opinion. I'm giving you my opinion. I think it's a bad idea.
Why?
Because you're an idiot.
This is one argument I'll probably never understand. I've read Article 3, Section 2 of the U.S. Constitution, and it clearly says that judicial powers cover maritime and admiralty law. But it doesn't say that their authority is only limited to those areas. If you go all the way down to Clause 3, it's even clear. The trial of all crimes must be by jury, and the trial has to take place in the state where the crime was committed. So, even the article you're quoting actually contradicts your point.
Why don't you briefly share with me the things you want to get on the record?
Your Honor, let the record reflect that I'm an American state national, which is a private American. I'm here on a special appearance to administer the affairs of the All Caps Trust I am the living man, Ricky DeMond Pierce, and not the all caps legal fiction, corporation, or dead entity. I stand on the land and soil jurisdiction, and that's the highest jurisdiction on the man. This is my oral request of me changing the court's jurisdiction over me here today. I have not contracted with the court in any kind of way, and I don't plan on contracting with the court in the near future. I have been forced to come here against my will and God-given rights under threats enforced by your government officials, which is kidnapping. Your courts have no jurisdiction over me, and I stand on the land and soil jurisdiction to have proof of it when I came to court on January the 30th, 2025. Your courts, plus in Louisville versus Motley, if any tribunal finds absent of proof of jurisdiction over a person and subject matter, the case must be dismissed. Your court's jurisdiction is the jurisdiction of the sea, which is the admiralty and maritime laws, which is also a military tribunal, and the courts are known as a ship of war, a privateer, or a battleship. I am under public law, which is common law, which is also the law of the land, natural law, God's law. I have God-given rights that can't be violated, and the courts are under admiralty and maritime laws, which is a foreign law to sea jurisdiction. See Article 3, Section 2 of the United States Constitution.
You can keep believing that someone like Donald Trump is going to send the military to march in and free you from jail. Or you can step back into reality and face the truth. None of that is going to happen. The sooner you accept that your situation is real and serious, the better. At this point, it's very unlikely you'll ever spend another day outside as a free person again.
And no living people live there, only dead persons, legal fictions, corporations, and dead entities. Because our cities are considered dead entities, which is another reason why you have to dismiss this case, because the living cannot be judged by the dead. Another problem the courts have, because my God-given right says I have to be tried amongst my peers and a jury of living people, which is American state nationals, and also can't happen because our nationals is not under the court's jurisdiction and will not show one order because they hold a higher jurisdiction. In the original Constitution, Section 3, Article 3, Section 2 states that the United States, the corporation judicial power is under admiralty and maritime jurisdiction. And I am under the land and soil jurisdiction, and I have gave courts proof of this when I came to court January the 30th, 2025. I also mailed off my executive letter, the notice that President Trump sent out January the 4th of this year, letting all patriots know that these laws have been dissolved due to breach of oath, due to fraud and breach of oath for office. And I also mailed off a copy of my certified mail. I mailed off certified mail and have been received. I am also requesting your oath of office, Your Honor. The notice that Trump sent out goes as follows. Notice to patriots, date January the 4th, 2025. This is to inform all patriots that effective immediately, our government and government corporations are hereby dissolved due to breach of oath. Additionally, our statutory and foreign laws are also dissolved. The only legal framework that remains in effort are constitutional law as outlined in Article 61 of the Magna Carta and established common law. This directive is especially for corporate bodies and government workers. Any government corporate body, including police, judges, lawyers, and any individuals operating in these capacities must cease operation immediately. Those who continue to operate after this notice will be liable for prosecution for fraud and breach of oath. It is imperative that all government workers comply with this directive. Failure to adhere may result in serious consequences and even including potential military actions.
Oh, great. Now he's claiming the government owes him over $800 million. And of course, he brought along his tiny little fee schedule to prove it. Honestly, sovereign citizens really do provide endless entertainment. You never know what ridiculous claim is coming next.
I declare on the penalty of perjury on the public law of the United States of America, the de jure government, from without the United States of America, the de facto government, and without the United States of America, the corporation territories. I reject, renounce, and remove all powers of attorney granted to me or issued under my name prior to this day. My birth certificate was the only contract that subjected me to these laws. But the birth certificate contract is void because I was only a minor and had no knowledge of this contract when it was constructed, which makes this contract void, which means the court lacks subject matter jurisdiction over me. I am no longer an employee of the government, which is the corporation government. I declare on the penalty of perjury on the public law of the capital T, United States of America, the de jure government, that I reject, renounce, and remove any and all alliance to any king or prince, any foreign state, any foreign government or flag. I declare on the penalty of perjury on the public law of the United States of America, the de jure government, that I have never knowingly, wittingly, or voluntarily pleaded myself to any incorporated entity at all, but including but not limited to any incorporated church, synagogue, mascot, or temple. I declare on the penalty of perjury on the public law of the United States of America, the de jure government, that I have never knowingly, wittingly, or voluntarily pleaded myself of any foreign state, foreign sovereign, or separated myself from my birthright political status as American state national. I declare, publish, and affirm on the penalty of perjury on the public law of the United States of America that I am a lawful inheritor, acting with full rights and authority, responsibility, and honor now and always while my tenure on earth shall last. I, the living man, Ricky DeMond Pierce, affirm and declare that I have returned to my lawful birthright political status as a Georgian, and I have copyrighted and trademarked the all caps name, which is a trust and not the living me. I have occupied my executive office and never gave the courts any permission to use the all caps name, which is fraud. I have over 40 violations that the courts have committed upon me and my God-given rights as American state national. And I have counted over $800 million in violations over the time that I have been incarcerated at Fulton County Jail these 150 plus days, and it's only adding up as I sit in Fulton County Jail against my will and consent. And they are as follows.
I have to admire the judge's effort to keep things moving efficiently. But for this sovereign citizen's get out of jail free plan to have any effect, he insists on reading his little magic spell, his statement, into the official record. That's going to take a while. And you can already tell this is going to be one of those painfully awkward courtroom moments.
These are all combined municipal and territorial notices of violations against Americans with failure to perform any and all occurrences listed below in this section, starting at $10 million. A, notice of claim of sole relief and remedy. B, notice of violation of the Lanham Act, attempted attachment and seizure of unregistered trademarks, Title 15, Section 1125, 8, and 11. Notice of violation of admiralty and maritime and prior cases, Title 25, Section 1331, 1, 2, and 12. D, notice of violation for special maritime and territorial jurisdiction of the United States, Title 18, Section 7, 1, 3, 8, and 13. E, notice of violation of the Postal Accountability and Enhancement Act of Title 39, Sections 1-3908 and 3621-3591. F, notice of violation of presumption of the Public Vessel Act, Title 46, U.S.C.A. Appendix, Section 781 through 790, as originally enacted. G, notice of violation of the False Claim Act, Title 31, U.S.C.A. Sections 3729A and 7. H, notice of violation of the Foreign Sovereign Immunity Act, Title 28, Section 1602 through 1611. I, notice of violation of the United States Statute at Large Act, Title 12, Section 411. K, notice of violation of the Geneva Conventions by the United States Department of Defense.
Mr. Pierce, I'm going to just pause you for 1 second. You were on K. How many letters? I want to make sure
You're
almost done, because we're getting into international stuff, and that's getting a little far afield.
All right. 2, private easements fee schedule. Penalty for private use, $250,000. These fees will be mandated upon the informant listed on the warrant, citation tickets, arrest warrants, detention orders, and seizure orders. Compulsion to produce trade name or other identification materials. A, name, $50,000. E, fingerprints, $200,000. F, photographing, $200,000. G, DNA, $5 million. Blood sample, $5 million. Personal property, trespass, carjacking, theft, interference with commerce or trade. M, color law, $150,000. N, implied color law, $150,000. T, fraud, $1 million. U, fraud upon the courts, $2 million. BB, stimulating legal process, $1 million. Use of trade name and copyrighted protected material under threats, duress, and or coercion. Name written by informant, $250,000. Miscellaneous material written by informant, $500,000. Court appearance fee schedule. These fees must be paid immediately after my case is finished. Failure to pay fines and fees will result in an additional fee of $5,000 for breach of contract. Demand for appearance in court. My appearance on a protest and duress per hour, 1 hour minimum, $75,000. Use of trade name material.
How many more pages do you have?
I have quite a few.
Okay, so I'm wondering if, and I'm not going to curtail you too much, but you'll be able to file that, which will make it even more of a record if you want it to be filed, or you could give it to me and I'll file it for you. But that's up to you. What I don't want to do is I want to make sure we're moving your case forward, and this is pretty lengthy. It might be more efficient to have it filed into the docket so that we actually see, hey, there it is in the computer system.
Well, here's the simple truth. Murder is illegal. Plain and simple. It's against the law. No exceptions that SO. That pretty much settles it. There's nothing fancy or complicated about that one.
I really need to get it on the record, and I need to file a motion to be able to address these issues also. I have the motions already wrote. If you give me a little time, I can get through it pretty quick.
Well, I don't want you to read too fast because Ms. Rivers needs to be able to take it down. Would you say we're more than halfway through, or are we not more than halfway?
Yeah, we halfway through.
Exactly half or more than half?
Exactly half, because it's 20 pages. I'm on 11 now.
Okay. Well, let's go. Don't read too fast, but don't read too slowly.
Trespass and failure to act fee schedule. Use of trade name material, name on a protest and duress, $25,000. Miscellaneous material, $25,000. Time uses for court appearance, 30 minutes on a protest and duress, $33,500. 60 minutes on a protest and duress, $75,000. 90 minutes or more on a protest and duress, $100,000. Trespass and failure to act fee schedule. Trespass by public officials, police officers, judges, detectives, attorneys, corporations, and other fictitious entities as well as any other who desire the contract. A, trespass on American homestead land, $10 million. C, failure of attorney to file requested FARA form, $1 million. Failure to accept American State National card, $1 million. Failure to honor God-given rights, $20,000. Failure to honor oath of office, $50,000. Failure to honor constitutional oath, $50,000. Failure to honor written and oral word, $5,000. Failure to honor a bond/no bond, $5,000. Detention from free movement and or cuff per hour, 1 hour minimum, $75,000. Incarceration per hour, 1 hour minimum, $75,000. Failure to follow federal and or state statutes, codes, rules, and regulations, $50,000. Failure to set a claim upon which relief can be granted, $25,000. Failure to present a living injured party, $100,000.
In court, the term bar doesn't refer to some British registry. It actually refers to that small barrier that separates the people in the courtroom from the judges and the litigants. That if someone wants to represent another person in court, they have to pass the bar exam first. That exam gives them the official right, called a privilege, to legally argue cases on someone else's behalf.
Total damages for each line set forth in a bar schedule will be assessed as the total amount of damages as set forth herein times 3 for a total of all damages added to a 3 times the damage for appearance and other additional damages for a total of $1,019,631,000 US dollars.
1 billion, you're at to the B.
Yes.
Okay, that's a lot of money.
And that's just for the amount for me being incarcerated these 120 plus days. Your Honor, all laws are commercial, and all laws are not laws, but codes, statutes, mandates, regulations, and all the rest. And I'm a private American or not under commercial law. What's legal aren't law, Your Honor, and what's law aren't legal.
No, the judge isn't committing treason just because he's presiding over your murder trial. In fact, he's actually doing his job, making sure all of your rights are protected throughout the process. Sure, he's giving you a lot of time to speak, probably more than you deserve, but don't worry, he's almost finished letting you ramble.
And Your Honor, ignorance to the law is no excuse, and that goes on both ends, mine and yours. This declaration is valid, true, correct, and complete in all jurisdictional law, air, land, and sea. Your Honor, let the record reflect that if you war against this is warring against the Constitution, and warring against the Constitution is called piercing the veil, and piercing the veil is called treason. Treason is punishable by death, and there is no remedy for treason. Also, in Orange versus Independence, officers of the court have no immunity from persecution when violating the constitutional right. I am honored the United States of America, the de jure government, the Confederation of the States.
Mr. Pierce, there's one phrase you've used a whole bunch of times and I don't understand it. The what government?
The de jure government.
What is, spell that?
DEJUNE, space JUNE, de jure.
DE.
JURE.
Oh, got it. Okay.
De jure.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay, which is the Confederation of the States. And the Federation gave the United States, the corporation, the de facto government, the power to operate out the 10 square miles, which is in Washington, D.C. And any laws outside of Washington, D.C. is commercial. And private Americans are not under commercial laws. We are under public law, which is common law. My God-given rights has been violated by being forced to give my DNA, fingerprints, eye pattern, and blood DNA against my will. I never consented to them arresting me or detaining me after I put them on notice of my political status. Your Honor, United States, the de facto government, is a for-profit corporation, which means they have a Dun and Bradstreet number, and no corporation can interact with a living man under another corporation. Your Honor, it states that every man is independent of all laws except those prescribed by nature. No man or woman is bound by any institution formed by his fellow man without his consent. See case law, Cruden versus Neal, 2 N.C.338, May term 1796. Your Honor, in 1845, the then Pope and the British monarchs, both of whom were honor bound to act as trustees for United States Trust, and both of whom acted in gross breach of trust, agreed that the American experiment was not working. The whole idea of self-rule was antithetical to the idea of divine rights of a king's supremacy. So they signed the secret treaty of Verona and agreed to undermine the American government. The British Monarch Commercial Company, which controls the bankers and lawyers, issued license to lawyers to act as privateers. That's why the Bar Association requires licensing. Acronyms for bar mean British Accredited Registry. Anytime we see the word license, it means that someone in a position of rulership is giving someone else permission to do something that is otherwise illegal. In this case, the king gave the members of the Bar Association permission to act as privateers against American commercial vessels. Because the jurisdiction where they attack us is international, admiralty, and maritime commercial laws. And that's why you see the gold rings around the flag, around that war flag, because the war flag is a war flag representing that the government is at war with the citizens. See 1864 Naval Agency and Distribution Act. Again, also, the United States was incorporated by the Pope, and the laws we are bound by are foreign laws from Great Britain, which means that the United States, the corporation, got Americans abiding by laws from Great Britain, which is also illegal. That's why, again, you have BAR, which stands for British Accredited Registry.
When the judge tells him to work on it, what he really means is, try not to recycle so many of your crazy arguments before actually submitting anything to the court that we're almost done with this hearing. But before it wrapped up, the prosecutor made one point very clear. They plan to pursue habitual offender status, which means if he's convicted of any of the major crimes, he would automatically face life in prison without the possibility of parole. No second chances, no exceptions.
What page are we on?
What am I almost doing now? I'm closing now.
All right.
Again, I am 1, changed from jurisdiction of the courts. I have a high jurisdiction. 2, I am demanding to see the state of Georgia to show up in proper persona. This must be made by self and not an attorney. 3, I am demanding that the courts present a living injured party because our citizens are considered dead entities, corporations, legal fictions, and artificial persons. I am requesting the judge oath of office and the first and last name of every court official in this courtroom before we proceed. I am demanding to see who gave the court's permission to use the all caps trust, which is a copyright and trademark. I am putting the courts on notice that I have occupied my executive office again, and I am standing in my full capacity as American State National, and I hold the highest court here today. I am demanding you give me a full relief for my case by either dismissing this case or giving me a bid bond signed and paid through my all caps trust. I am also filing an order of pro se ex parte with prohibition to dismiss my case for fraudulent practices, misrepresentation, and lack of subject matter jurisdiction. Your Honor, I, the petitioner, case are not being handled in the proper courts, which is common law courts. I, the petitioner, was not put on notice by a state-appointed attorney that my case was not handled in the proper courts. I, the petitioner, never signed a contract to be subject to the jurisdiction of the United States and or the District of Columbia. Again, the birth certificate and social security card are voidable contracts that was constructed when I, the petitioner, was a minor. So these contracts could have not been knowingly, voluntarily, or willingly consented to because as a minor, I, the petitioner, lacked the capacity to do so. Again, I am making a clear and unequivocal demand to petition the court, the state, to show up in the proper persona. The state is a legal entity, and a legal entity is an artificial person. And an artificial person is a corporation, which cannot appear in proper persona. See case law, Penhollow versus DOANES. This vagueness doctrine may invalidate criminal law for two independent reasons. First, it may fail to get a proper kind of notice that will enable ordinary people to know what kind of conduct to prohibit. Second, it may authorize and even encourage arbitrary and discriminatory enforcement. Your Honor, a basic principle of due process that a law is unconstitutional if its prohibitions are not clearly defined. Plus, I, the petitioner, cannot owe a debt in a bankrupt nation, and no title of nobility shall be granted by the United States. See the United States Constitution. Again, Your Honor, I, the petitioner, cannot have a fair and impartial trial when the judge, the jury, the bailiff, the district attorney, and public defender all work for the state and are one and the same. See the case law, the Maggie Hamlet case. Your Honor, the Constitution is a chapter of negative liabilities. Liberties, excuse me. It tells the state to let people alone. It does not require the federal government or even the state to provide services, even so elementary as maintaining law and order. See case law ID, period, CF.OLMSTEAD versus United States 277 US.438 and 478 1928. And again, Your Honor, any judge or magistrate who does not comply with his or her oath to the Constitution of the United States wars against that Constitution and engages in acts of violation of the supreme law of the land. The judge is engaged in acts of treason. The authentication of my birth certificate signed by the Secretary of State, the Secretary of Washington, D.C., and the Governor of Georgia is admitting that the government made a mistake by making me to abide by a void contract and subjecting me to the jurisdiction and laws of the government when I had no knowledge of this contract and was too young even know that this contract exists that the government tricked me and my parents into without our knowledge and consent. And the courts have a copy of my birth certificate authentication also. Your Honor, I am a private American, which is American State National, and cannot be represented by a bar attorney because an attorney is an officer of the court and will automatically subject me to the court jurisdiction.
And I hear you on that, which is why we had the first part of our conversation, and I've concluded that you've got the ability to and the desire to represent yourself. We'll do that. I appreciate you making that record. As you and I agreed, you won't need to do that again. You've now made all those objections, made it very clear that there's $1 billion plus, and I get it that number is increasing. Every day you're in custody and people are trying to contract with you and they shouldn't, all that. You've made a healthy record of that. You are welcome to file things now because you are your own attorney. You can now file things of record into the docket. But when we see each other again for whatever the next court event is, we can use a shorthand where you can say, I renew the objections that I made on the record when I was last in court. And that way, you're not going to need to break your vocal cords by going through that again. But that was very thorough, and I appreciate you making that record.
So is it where I can leave these motions here today?
So this one time, I'll take responsibility for filing things for you.
You know what? I'll wait because I still have some other.
You want to do more work on it?
Yeah.
Okay.
And Mr. Pierce is an ANC recidivist, so he is facing a convicted and mandatory life without parole sentence.
Okay, and is there a recidivist notice in the docket?
Not at the moment. I intend to file it.
Okay. Mr. Pierce, I'm going to translate that for you. You may already know what it means, but because of your criminal history, the state has the ability to file a pleading, which it sounds like they're going to do, that if you're found guilty, and all this is contingent on a jury finding you guilty. If they find you not guilty, none of this matters.
Okay.
But it's a big if. And if a jury comes back with guilty, I had mentioned that the maximum possible penalty was life without parole. But if you'd never been in trouble before, that's not a mandatory sentence. Life, I'd have to impose life, but I have the option to choose between life without parole or life. Unless you've got sufficient criminal history and the state files this notice. And if they do that and they've got certified copies of your convictions, then that takes that discretion away from me. And the only sentence you can get is life without parole. And that may be where we end up, but they haven't filed it yet. When they do, we'll figure it out. But it's important that you be on notice of that, because sometimes the defendant thinks like, hey, you know what, if I'm found guilty, it'll be life. That's a long time, but it's parole after 30 years. But if life without parole is the only option, it just may make you think differently about the case. Don't know, but we'll keep you posted.
Spoiler alert, even after hearing about the new and much harsher consequences he could be facing, it didn't change a thing. He still insists on representing himself, and that whole mess continues in the next video, which will be out next Friday. I've also got another wild video coming this Monday, also from Georgia, and also involving a sovereign citizen. Trust me, you're going to want to see how that one turns out at SO. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure to hit the like button. If you didn't, feel free to hit dislike. And don't forget to drop a comment and subscribe with notifications turned on so you never miss future content. I'm Team Skeptic, and I'm signing off.